Christian Rath here, consultant at Abacus CPAs.
Hi, my name is Kate Gately. I am the marketing coordinator at Gershman Mortgage.
I'm Abigail James O'Quinn. I'm a financial planner and partner at James Financial Partners.
Hey, my name is Emily Baker. I have been in real estate for about 7 years.
Started here as an intern 5 years ago after graduating from Missouri State and originally graduating from Liberal Missouri High School. 700 people, I'm in town.
A little background about me. I'm from St. Louis, but I actually moved to Springfield in 2012 to go to Missouri State as a swimmer there. After I was done with college, I decided to intern at Gershman and they hired me on full time. So that's kind of my background, and I've been here for almost 6 years full time.
I've been in the financial industry for 9 years now, and my most important gig is that of a wife and a mom to our 2 little boys. We have Jude, who's 3 years old, and Joey, who's 1 year old, and we have another little boy on the way. To get the compliance jargon out of the way, I offer securities and advisory services through our broker-dealer. Their name is Woodbury Financial, and we're located at 909 East Republic Road in Springfield, phone number 829-2257.
What that means, guys, is I have the privilege of just partnering with about 44 real estate professionals such as yourself and growing their businesses.
How I manage my time wisely is using the Outlook calendars to make sure everything is scheduled for the day, including buffer times to make sure I have time in between different meetings to get things done.
So in order to manage my time wisely, the biggest thing for me is making a checklist. So the first thing I do whenever I get to my desk in the morning is write down everything I need to do for the day. And that way, as I go, completing tasks, I can check them off. And then the next day I can look at my list from the previous day, and if I haven't finished something, I can go ahead and wrap that up and get it checked off the list.
The last several years, I have made a point of time blocking my calendar because that helps me to get all of my to-do list items physically on my Outlook. That way I don't forget any of them. My Outlook calendar is color-coded as well. That way I can look at it and make sure I have enough of everything on there at a glance just by looking at the color blocks. For example, I'll put like an hour and a half block on there for Monday morning to make sure that I get all of my planning and reporting done from the previous week, as well as preparing myself for the current week. The color coding, like I said, helps me make sure that I get even my self-care items on there, so I can look and make sure there's 3 yellow blocks for 3 gym visits and make sure that I get it all accomplished.
So what I do to manage my time wisely is I have every Saturday morning for an hour, I just spend prioritizing my next week. So I look at what are my 3 priorities that I need to accomplish next week, and then when I figure that out, then I put that on my calendar. And also, just something to notate is that I always do my personal first. So I date my kids every week, and so my dates are non-negotiable, so I block all of my personal time first, and then I move to my professional side. It takes me on average an hour a week just to get clear. So on Monday, I just literally read my calendar, which is what I did before here. I was like, I gotta drive.
So depending on who you ask, I'm either famous or infamous for my very direct communication style. In my opinion, getting to the point and asking for what you want is the best way to achieve your goals and get through tough conversations without beating around the bush. This has worked well for me with both personal and business communications. In a business sense, if I ask the direct questions, I get to the root of whether we're going to do business or not without wasting anyone's time. And then I obviously am careful to soften my language so that it doesn't come off as too harsh or rough. And then with personal relationships, I get to the point so that both parties know we're on the same page and what the other person is looking for. And it works well in parenting too.
So in order to communicate effectively, it's super important to communicate all the details of what you want. So, whether that's providing them a list of things that you need or explaining a process, it's good to always give almost too much detail to someone, especially if it's someone you've never talked to or worked with before. And then also not only being super detailed, but following up and making sure that you guys are all on the same page.
My My number one tip in having effective communication is to be willing to communicate in the way that your audience needs to be communicated with. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is to send a text, but when really they're needing a phone call for this conversation. Be willing to do what it takes for them to be able to understand the message that you need to send. Sometimes, and most of the time, it's not about you. It's what the client needs to do.
So something that I find very powerful in communicating effectively is just coming from curiosity. So a word to me, like drive, can mean something completely different to somebody else. And so where a lot of times in communication we have faults is that we assume the definition of somebody else's actions or communication styles. So always come from communication or come from curiosity whenever you're communicating, and communicate as frequently as possible. So the one piece of advice that I would give other professionals is just knowing what your dollar producing activities are. So many times, you guys, we get caught in the weeds on things that don't make us money. And so a little trick that I do is on my calendar, I have green for anything that makes me money in the day. So rule of thumb for me, I have to have 8 green activities on my calendar or it's not a productive day. So a little trick for yourself.
My biggest piece of advice for other professionals is to actually communicate. One thing that we think happens is that when we're sending out our quick reminders that we're actually communicating, but we're actually not. We need to over-communicate typically many of our professions to actually make the time that we're communicating at the level that we're playing. So communicate. In fact, if you're communicating properly, the client might too much, and that's okay. It's better to have more communication than miss out on a piece of communication and lose that trust.
So a piece of advice that I would give to other business professionals is to really pick a job or career where you're going to be supported and you're going to be able to grow. So whether that's them allowing you to do different trainings and getting certified in different things to kind of better yourself, or it's them sending you to conferences and that kind of thing, I think it's important to pick something where you're going to be able to move up and not always stay in the same position.
So my personal catchphrase is to be intentional. That goes for both business and personal life as well. I like to help my clients in the financial realm understand that being intentional with our finances means that we have to know where our money is going. So you can't organize your money or save your money if you don't know where it's going in the present. And we also can't build relationships with the right people professionally if we don't seek them out and put ourselves in the right places in order to schedule appointments. Time management is also affected by intentionality. A lot of fellow millennials and other generations even like to say they didn't have time to get something done, but if they had been more intentional with their time, they had the same number of hours in each day and could have gotten it out of the way.
So if I could go back in time, one of the biggest things I would tell myself is to ask for help. There's so many times where you have all this stuff on your plate and you're thinking, gosh, I need to do all this, that, and the other, and you don't ever stop and think that you can ask people around you for help. So that's the biggest thing for me is as soon as you realize that you can't do it all yourself and you have people there to help you, reach out to them and ask for help and you will save yourself so much stress.
If I could go back in time, I would tell myself not to have so much self-doubt, but instead believe that everyone I want to do business with also wants to do business with me. It would be more of a mental strength exercise to boost confidence because as a 22-year-old female in a very professional industry, I told myself that some people would want someone older or someone male, but that really wasn't the case. What it did was make me too intimidated to talk to certain people whenever that just became a missed opportunity. If I would have boosted myself into being the best I could by staying professional and well-studied, I should be able to approach anyone I feel like approaching and not talk myself down.
So one of the things that I would go back and tell myself is it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's realizing what's important and that we don't need to compare ourselves to what other people are doing or compare ourselves with what we think that we should be doing. Because sometimes you guys, this business is just really tiring and exhausting, and it's getting back to why are you doing this? And a lot of times, whenever you just stop, you get real with yourself, you can get right on your goals and get clear with your purpose moving forward.
When I first started in my profession, I was absolutely terrified to network. And that was the wrong way to be. Yes, everyone's terrified to network. It's not just me, it's not just my neighbor, it's not just the guy that's next to me in the cubicle. Everyone's terrified to network. Go out there, make friends. It's not all about gaining businesses, but just building relationships. And I think that is the number one thing for me, is understanding that I'm just here to build relationships. It's not about gaining the business, but build a network that even if they don't become clients, I'm able to reach out to them to help my clients.